Nobody tells you how hard this is. It's just
To have a kid or not to have a kid,
Right.
what do you think people should think about when deciding this factor?
for sure. It's a big question, right? And it's just, parenting, great. And it is so hard to become a parent right now. I think that sometimes mothers lose themselves in motherhood. Like some people will say, I tried it didn't work. You need to find a new therapist.
Right.
But like some people like me, like left my 9 to 5 to kind of like be my own boss. It was burnout. So
His passion is fuel. Like the hustle culture. And then where do you draw the line? What advice can you get them to keep going and have that fuel?
Ooh, it's a hard one. But if you have a brand, it has to reflect you. Folks are buying from you. They can get, a bottle of water anywhere. But why are they buying your bottle of water?
Yes, I didn't realize how big this
Yeah.
is.
So it is. It's the most beautiful thing, but it's also the hardest job you'll ever have. First of all, if you were to decide to have children, well, I always had the travel bug, but now I'm like, I need to go away. Have you been? It's so good. We're filming. Hello.
Hi guys, welcome to another episode of the Cambu Talks. Hi Cass.
Hi.
So the reason, Cass, why I invited you today, because not only I find you inspirational, you very much are, and you are a woman of many things.
Oh, yeah. So I'm Cassandra, and I am first and foremost myself.
Yes.
I think that sometimes mothers lose themselves in motherhood, but I'm back. So I am me. I am Cass. I am the mom to a 5-year-old. He's 5.5. Spicy young man.
Spicy.
About to enter SK. I also am a teacher. I've been teaching since 2016, I think.
Okay.
Well, I went to teachers college in 2015.
Right.
After university, I ended up in television and film for a bit, but then I was like, I needed to be a teacher.
You know what? I always thought that maybe you were in some kind of media. You're just so beautiful.
Right? Thank you. You're so beautiful. But yeah, so I was working for the government in television and film, and then I was like, what am I doing? Like, I've always wanted to be a teacher, so here we go. Went to Korea, taught English for a year, came back, and so it was kind of like not later in life, but I didn't right out of university go to teachers college, which I should have, and then I would have been teaching for forever. But life, I love the way that my life has progressed. So now teaching, I was teaching in one school board, but then I resigned after the pandemic. There was just like a lot going on with me and my health, and then my mental health, because these poor kiddos post-pandemic in the schools were just, having a hard time, not very much support. And I'm the teacher that my kids are my students are my kids, and I care very deeply. So I know how much work it takes to, raise a baby. So I wanted to help support other families with that. And I wish I would have known what a doula was when I was going through the newborn phase with my son. I didn't give birth to my son. He joined our family through adoption, but still it might even be more intense in the sense that I all of a sudden was like, oh, you are going to be a mom in 4 weeks. So it was just a lot, but I enjoyed the newborn stage. I think toddler stage is way trickier. I got to help a couple of families, support a couple of families, but then life circumstances, I'm back to teaching. I'm teaching now here in the city, and so and then while I was doing my doula work, I came across this opportunity of, them needing, so the Mom Market Collective is a collective of market directors that hosts markets across Canada.
Yes, I didn't realize how big this is.
Yeah, so the Mom Market Hamilton is my baby, and how I got introduced to this is someone sent it my way, and then I said, you know what, I'm really connected within Hamilton. I'm connected within moms. I love shopping small and supporting local and community. So I was like, you know what, I'll give it a shot. And if I, don't enjoy it, I won't do it anymore. So gave it a shot, and now we're gonna have our I've already had my 1 year anniversary of being a market director, but
Yes.
the first market I ever had was at Carluke Orchards, and now in September we're going back, and that'll be my like first market anniversary.
Amazing. I remember when you first started, because I know there were other organizers before that as well. Did this just sort of fell in your lap? How did you
Yeah.
know about, how did you come across My Market Hamilton?
Very, very interesting story. So my son's birth mom actually saw that they were looking for a market director in Niagara because
Right.
she was out that way. And
Right.
so she sent it my way and she's like, you would be really good at this. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. So I was like, okay. But I have a
In
bunch
your
of
head,
jobs
like,
right
yeah.
now. Like right now I'm a doula
Yeah.
and like I was like supporting some other businesses in
Right.
Hamilton. And I was like, okay, let's add to the plate. I was like, I will check it out. And then I was like, yeah, I think I want to do this. So I was kind of like not thrown into it, but just kind of like this new opportunity. Like I had never organized a market. I had
Yeah.
never, I've like done a couple of events, but like supported those, but like I've never like done something on my own. So I was like, why not?
Is it stressful? What would you say is the most stressful part of being the host of the My Market?
I would say just having time. So now that I was launched back into teaching and doing them, like I didn't anticipating doing both because it was very flexible when I was doing doula work and doing the
Right.
markets. But now being a full-time teacher and doing the markets is a lot. But I think what's most time consuming is the social of it all. So like social media, making graphics, reaching out, to vendors and making posts and, gaining traction for each market. I think that takes the most time. It's all about that time. Like market day, easy breezy, no stress.
Right,
I
right.
can put
It's-
fires out easily.
It's getting the
It's getting there. Yeah.
vendors and all that. Do you
Yeah.
find that, because there's so many organizations out there that does, markets and stuff.
Yep.
How do you stay on top of, I don't want to say competition, but like
Yep.
competition? Like how
Yes.
do you,
Very saturated. Very saturated right now.
Yeah.
Markets, I noticed that last winter, like the holiday markets, the fall, not so much, but then come winter, I noticed there was a lot of markets. So I would say last year was the beginning of kind of like this like slowing down of the economy in the sense that like prices were rising.
Yep.
So people were being more mindful of their spending. So, there were times where we'd have markets where some friends would do really great and some would not at all. So what I had to do is I kind of had to like change the mentality of how I wanted to approach markets and say, listen, this is an opportunity for you to put your name out there. You might not sell the expectations of selling a certain amount cannot be like, that's
Right.
not the vibe in my
you
market.
shouldn't come in with that.
You shouldn't come
mentality.
in with the like even making your table back like that. Sometimes that's not going to happen, but it's like, how did you use that time? So my markets are usually 3 to 5 hours. Are you sitting there right here like on your phone, or are
Yep.
you getting people
Right.
to come to you? Are you letting them touch, feel, smell what you produce?
Yes.
Getting to know your personality because they're buying from you essentially. Like we can buy beautiful, but like I'm going to buy your bracelets because of your like heart and smile and like your
Yes.
personality, and you're like, we have great conversation. Like you're having conversations with the community because these are the people that are going to buy
Correct.
from you.
Yep.
They could go to the mall and whatever, but it's like, no, I am this business. Here's why I started my business. Tell the customer your story.
Correct.
Tell, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's more about connecting. And then when, if they don't buy that day, perhaps or if they had no intent of buying a bracelet, like now that they've gotten to know you, they might want it, like they're likely to, you know what? I really like that one. I treat myself great. Or they're going to go home with your card, or they follow you on Instagram. They're going to see and they're going to remember, hey,
Yeah, yeah.
I need a birthday present. I'm going to go and get a bracelet.
Yes. So
Right.
so it may not be fruitful at that time of the event, but if you connected enough and show who you are,
Yes.
people usually come around and be like, I remember that girl.
That's
I
a
remember
thing.
how she started her business, etc.
Right? It's like teaching. It's like you
Yeah.
remember, you don't
Yeah.
remember the algebra. You remember how that teacher
yeah.
made you feel. And I think it's the same for markets.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the vibe right now. Like every vendor that comes on with me right now knows that like sales are not the best, but it's an opportunity to be that like visual business card. So like you were to just put your business cards in a business, they don't
Right.
see you, they don't get to know you, they don't have a conversation
No.
with you, but here you are for however many, it's marketing. It's marketing, and you have to use it wisely. Even like there were some slow moments in our last market. We were all making reels. Like
Yes.
the vendors were making reels with, because it was in an art gallery with all the art, or I was making reels with
Yeah.
them, like following the trend. So
Make
it's
use
really
of-
just making use of that time, because when
Yeah.
in these busy lives, when do we have time to sit and make reels?
No.
Right? As I just said, it's the most tedious part of this. It's
Yeah.
the most time consuming. So why not use that wisely?
Yes.
Right?
Do you think that though, with the amount of competition in social media too, and if you're a small business trying to survive,
Yeah.
do you think nowadays there's a lot of work involved trying to get your name out there? What do you think is the secret sauce to get going in this digital sort of? I know it's a heavy. I know.
Like it's
Yeah.
sad because you see businesses closing daily. Make sure I'm not turning this off. It's like Instagram's. It's like so depressing because it's like we're closing. We've made the sad
I've
decision to
seen,
close.
yeah.
We've made so it. What's the secret sauce? Is perseverance,
Consistency, maybe.
consistency, not giving up, just pivoting, trying
Yeah.
new things. It's a lot of work. It's like a lot, like people like me, like left my 9 to 5 to kind of like be my own boss, but it ends up being like a 24-hour job, but you're
Yeah.
like, at least you're doing something that you love.
Right.
Right. And you don't owe anything to anyone except for, not, how do I say it? Like you are doing what you love. So it doesn't feel like work, even though it's challenging and it's time consuming. You know what I mean?
It's almost like a fuel.
Yes.
Because passion is fuel.
Yes. I
Like
love
you can
that.
be like the most tired person,
Yeah.
but you just keep going.
That's the thing.
right?
Like me, like a lot of people are like, how do you have so much energy? It's like, because I'm passionate about what I do.
Right.
Right.
And I do
so-
see that. I do see
Yeah.
that you connect with your vendors and you connect with all of the people that are supporting my market.
Right.
So I think that's truly what's separating you from a lot of the organization.
That's the thing. It's like I do this for you, for you,
Yeah.
for my vendors. I do
Yeah.
this for small business.
Yeah.
If you think I'm doing it for like, there's some, vendor markets that have tons and tons of, foot traffic and all that, but do you see the market director running around like trying to make sure everybody's okay, or do you see them at all? And like,
Yep.
I don't have the funds to be like spending thousands of dollars on advertising, but I'm going to spend what I do have to do it the best way that I can. Right.
Right.
So,
And so on top of that,
yeah,
you're a mother.
I'm a mom.
How is, and by the way, we have a question from our viewers, which I will ask Cass about, but
Yes.
how is motherhood for you? How do you define motherhood?
Motherhood is something else, that's for sure. Motherhood has been challenging. I think everybody has their stage that's tricky for them. As I said, I love the newborn stage. Obviously not without its the first 4 months you're super tired, and like I call it the tornado time, and you're just tornadoing around, and then eventually you're like, oh, okay, I know what I'm doing.
dissipates, yeah.
But I love, and like tears, like hard nights, hard days, but then I found it much easier, because now I feel like once my son, because he was such a great sleeper and such a, great, baby, there's no good or bad babies, but you know what I mean? But then as soon as he could walk, it was just like game over. So busy. So my son is really busy. So, it's challenging. And now that he can communicate and has big feelings, and it's really hard. So, motherhood is a marathon.
I think that's
with
the
highs and
perfect
lows.
word. To
Yeah.
say. I'm not a mom, so I don't, but I know a lot of people that are, and they're like, it's life changing.
It is. It's the most beautiful
Yeah.
thing, but it's also the hardest job you'll ever have.
And how do you sort of balance work, life,
Yeah.
teacher,
Yeah.
entrepreneur?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
1 week at a time, and then 1 day at a time. So I know, like, yes, I have a calendar that has things in it, like going, throughout the year. But then I literally just look at my week, and I set up my week, like for Sunday today. So I'm like,
Right.
I'm going to set up my week. I have a big week because I'm going back to teaching next week. I have back-to-back markets in September, so I want to like make sure all my graphics are ready, so I don't have to do any content creation or as much content creation. I need to like sort out my things for school, go into a class.
So Sunday is dedicated for that
Sunday,
sort of planning.
Usually,
for the week ahead,
you know, or the Monday, whatever. But I have to know what's going on this week. That's it. I don't look forward. I do look forward once in a while.
It
but
should be like that. I feel like if you look at the future
That's the
too
thing.
much,
because things that don't happen this week will go into the next week.
That's
so and things could change. So it's just like, and then after that I go by day. So it's like, what's today? Oh, I look at my calendar. I'm like, oh, I have this. I have this. Cool. And then I go. So how do I balance it? I make sure to have a organized chaos, I'd like to call it.
I was gonna say, how does your planner look like? And do you like planners?
I used to love a written planner. I don't have time anymore, and I don't always have it. So now I'm a Google Calendar. I was never a Google, like I didn't really like it, but now Google Calendar is my, like, if without that, I would forget about things. Like today's meeting was like at 3. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's 4 o'clock. But then I like went back and looked. But like, so things like that I have to be mindful of, like that things are going in on the right day. But if I like don't get a notification, I don't go to the appointment. So it's like it is literally like
a lifesaver.
A lifesaver. So being organized, and then I balance it by taking time for me. So so for example, so self-care. So for example, you know, teacher by day, mom by afternoon, right after school, pick up until bedtime is my son. And then after that, it's like working into the night. So even though entrepreneurship is 24-hour job, now it's like 24 hours with 2 jobs.
I can't believe it.
But, and sleep, prioritizing sleep. Like I don't let myself, I try not to let myself like stay up too late, because sleep is essential in order to make sure I'm on top of everything.
Do you suggest, because a lot of moms are probably watching right now, meal prepping? Cooking. Cooking is such a thing where I feel like people struggle with the most.
Yes.
How do you prep your meals?
Prep my meals. So boiled eggs. So you're boiling the eggs. You're cutting all the fruits and vegetables
ahead of time.
Like sometimes like on a Sunday, right? You are like, don't get me wrong, I used to be way better at it. Like time right now is not the easiest, but like I would like make granola for the week, like, which is simpler than we think, right? It's oats and honey and whatever you can put in it in the oven for a little bit. So like something like that, I would make granola or pasta for pasta salad, just like really like. And if you are someone that like takes a lunch, maybe you're doing like taco bowl, so you have like your meat, and then you're like putting them in containers for the week. So it really does help. Even for me, like right now, I know that for sure I always do the fruits and vegetables.
Right.
If I have that, at least it's helpful.
And
if I can get more, great. But that's what makes it easy, because then it's just like grab and go, especially like once lunches.
Yeah.
I thought I would love lunch making, and I do, don't get me wrong, but not like towards the end of the year, I'm like, I can't wait to stop making
the
a lunch.
market and
right? So like if you're, you know, a 9-to-5er and you don't have 2 jobs and you have more time, like meal prep on Sunday or whatever day you choose. Maybe it's Monday evening and you get that stuff done. Just right? Like making your meat, like crock pot, like make something for the week.
Yeah.
I'm a real advocate for, you know, if you're a meat lover, chicken, jar of salsa, crock pot. That chicken can be used for everything that week. You could do tacos. You could do, you know, chicken on rice. You could do like shred that chicken, and it's just easy breezy.
Instead of going through the McDonald's drive-through.
Yes.
Every now and then, I would go to McDonald's, and you wouldn't believe lunchtime, the insane amount of traffic.
It's very busy.
And I'm like, holy mac. But actually, going back to the motherhood question, there was a question from one of our viewers, and I'd like to sort of see where your stance is based on your experience in being a doula. Yeah. To have a kid or not to have a kid, what do you think people should think about when deciding this factor in their life?
It's a big question, right? And it's a question that people shouldn't be asking. Like people need to stop being like, so when are you having, like, you just got married, when are you having kids? Or, you know,
my Filipino mom is on me
it's
constantly.
a lot. And I know, and like, culturally, like that's just the way it is. But it's like, It is so hard to become a parent right now. Everyone that I know is struggling. I struggled. So I have endometriosis. So I was unable to conceive. So I went through a couple years of IVF and to no luck. And then we grew our family through adoption, but adoption was always an option for me. Like I always knew I wanted to adopt. And then my partner was also on board. So when it came down to, like, even if we were to have had biological kiddos, we would have all like I my dream was always to adopt. So IVF didn't work, so then we grew our family through private adoption. We have a beautiful open relationship with his birth family, and we just really lucked out in terms of our journey to parenthood. But it's not so easy for everyone, and it's very expensive, right? So IVF can cost anywhere from like $16,000 to $20,000. And then adoption is also very expensive if you go the public route. The private route. The public route is funded if you go through a Children's Aid Society, but it's a more lengthy process. But if you go private, it's a lot of money. So, first of all, if you were to decide to have children, you have to think of the economy. You have to think about your situation. Do you have support? Do you have the finances? Do you live somewhere where it's easily accessible to find daycare? Finding daycare is hard. Finding like schools that, school. That's a whole nother podcast, the school system
I
itself.
have to invite you back for
Right?
that episode.
But it is not easy. I remember being like, I always wanted to be a mom. I want to be a mom. And now I'm in it. And it's not like a regret. It's not, that's not, but it's like, whoa, nobody tells you how hard this is. It's just like, oh, parenting, great. And yes, have we gotten to like a little bit of a culture like socially, like on social media, like motherhood's the worst. Yeah, it is the worst, but it's also the best.
Right.
But I do appreciate that a lot of people, like I'm very transparent on my social media about the highs and lows of parenting.
Yes.
So it is good to see that other side. And like, I will be honest with like my friends on like the experience. But obviously everybody's experience is different. But I would say you really need to know that it's not the like, woo, I'm just going to have children and they're going to wear cute outfits. My son does not let me dress him as a baby. Yes, great.
Yeah.
And that it takes a lot of patience. I would suggest anyone that's looking to try to start a family, like start reading books, but obviously get like recommendations from people, because there's a lot of also toxic things that are circulating, right? Just like that, you don't want to be scared about it. But I would say it's a communicating with your partner and like going over like, hey, like
What it means.
And like for a marriage, what it means for, you have to have in place, like, does our bond come before, you know what I mean? There's different ways to kind of be a mother or a family. So I would say that it something to think about. You know what I mean? Like whereas I have friends that have no kids and are, they are able to travel, they're able to do a lot more. Or I have friends that are single mom by choice, right? They're like, okay, I don't have a partner yet. I want to be a mom, and they're doing the thing. So it really depends.
Do you think it comes with the pressure and sort of comparing yourself in the social media and the toxicity behind it? Do you think that plays a major role of, like, you think you want it but you actually don't?
Yes.
So you have to really dig deep then look at all of the other things.
Absolutely. It's really like don't like look at social media or a movie, like even movies, right? Like this nuclear family, like your kid's going to run on the street and you're going to be like chasing them. They're going to like be kicking and screaming in that grocery store, and you have to find the patience to like sit with them and like let them work that out. Like it's a lot. So just like digging deep, like I had to dig deep because I was like, we've gone through all of this IVF, my own medical stuff. And it's just like, do I even really want this? Like, do we continue this journey? But then, you know, I did a lot of deep like therapy and, you know, and then it's like, no, I still, this is my journey.
Wow.
Yeah. So definitely do the work of making sure it's the right decision for you.
Right. And I imagine it's frustrating too for a lot of people who are very much trying and then all of a sudden realizing, you know what, it's not working out. And now you have to realize, you know, like it's not.
Right. Or that, like that too. It's like it's, I don't want people to feel discouraged as well. Like, you know, if you're going through it and you're just like, well, it's not working, I don't want to do this anymore. Like that's sad too. But everything can be worked out in therapy. But like, but then, sometimes that's just the journey, right? Unless like some sort of miracle occurs, like that, you know, you have to kind of call it, but then work through that so it doesn't linger with you and that you can move forward, right? You don't want that. So a lot of, you know, and like you're not going to just settle and say, like I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'll just adopt. And as an adoptive parent and learning, like I've learned so much, just like, I was super ignorant about adoption before I was more educated. And like, it's not just an answer or a solution to infertility. It is a very, very big commitment and life commitment. And you think motherhood's hard, motherhood of a child through trauma, because you have to think like a child is no longer with their birth family. Like, you know, my son grew in someone else's, you know what I mean? Then there's that bond there. And no matter what, even an infant has attachment.
Correct.
To that birth parent. So there's a lot of trauma involved in adoption. So that is something that must be considered. So parenting a neurotypical kiddo versus a neurospicy kiddo, like it's a whole nother ball game.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
So I hope you learned something from that, guys. How do you now, with all of the stuff we're talking about, what do you feel about the hustle culture? And is it getting toxic? Is it where do you draw the line?
Well, I was just in Portugal and everything is much slower there, and being on vacation. So vacation, because my son was not with me, because if you go on a trip with a child, it's not a vacation, it is a family trip. So to have that time to slow down and like really turn off like the mom market and teaching and parenting was so good for my mental health. And like just to see how it's like, you know, things are closed, not open until 8 because, you know, there's time to just rest, and everything's laid back and meals aren't rushed, and it was just fantastic. So coming back here, I've really made, you know, I'm gonna make a point to just slow down even more. Like I'm not someone. It might seem like that because I'm very busy and I thrive being busy, but I'm at this stage of my life where I also know when I need to stop. For example, when I was teaching, I had a mental health crisis. I was just like, life is going too fast. I had like just recovered from major surgery. So I was like, what the heck just happened to me? How am I still here? I was a parent. I was teaching. The schools were a little bit chaotic. And I just it was burnout. So the hustle culture will lead to burnout if you are not careful. So because of that and having to kind of rebuild my peace, I know that I'm not going to get back to that ever again. So it's really like a discipline that you have to kind of make sure that if you feel like you're too tired or you're overwhelmed and I'm like a big FOMO, like I can't miss the party or I can't miss, you know, going on this trip. But I've really learned to say no and say, you know, I don't have the capacity. I don't have the funds. I don't have the like I need quiet, you know what I mean? So like you have to learn to kind of listen to your body, so that you do not get to that burnout state.
I feel like, remember that meme that's coming around right now on Instagram? You're mindful, you're demure.
Right? I'm very demure, very mindful.
That's amazing. What is your advice for women who are trying to get to entrepreneurship? Or are in entrepreneurship, are struggling right now? What advice can you get them to keep going and have that fuel?
It's a hard one. And you know, as a small business owner, it's a tricky time. The economy is wild. Everything is expensive. People are being very mindful of where they spend their money. But if you're passionate about what you do and you are working and doing your best, you have to kind of like just remember you do your best, and that's all you can do. That's what I tell my students. That's what I tell my son. That's what I tell myself. Like, you do your best. That's all you can do. And if your best today might look different than your best tomorrow. And just to keep on going, and to know when you do need to maybe stop. So I would say that keep trying, keep like network with other small businesses. So there's lots of networking places or networking events in Hamilton, be it work nights, or there's a lot that goes through the YWCA Hamilton. They have a lot of programs. The business center for the city of Hamilton, they have, free, and there's a lot of this is free guidance, free mentorship, like finding someone who makes something similar to you and kind of like networking with them. Like, I think you just have to kind of get to know what works, what doesn't for different people. That's another thing I say for vendors at my markets. It's like, connect with your neighbor. Like, what are their best practices? What works for you? What doesn't work for you? Give them like tips. Like, I had a couple of vendors this weekend exchange like different things about the square, like, and how to use it efficiently. Like, it's just like, we're forever learners, and the same goes for small business owners. If you love what you do, just keep going. And I know that's hard. It's just that you're going to make mistakes along the way. You're going to have failures along the way, but those failures and mistakes and hard times are going to make you more resilient and are going to make like things happen. So I think just keep pushing on, and that's why I do what I do. It's like, I could, just kind of throw in the towel, but it's like, no, I've pivoted. So it's like, how can I support businesses in a different way? It's not the way that everybody wants. Like, everybody needs money to survive because bread costs $5, but like, how can we just pivot? And how can we just like take this saturated market thing and like how I made it my own. So I just made it my own, and just like to build those relationships with my vendors to say, hey, let's do it different. Let's like, you know what I mean? And so my vendors are very appreciative of that, because it is a hard time. And
it is a hard time.
And then also knowing when to, that might not work.
Right.
And that's okay. Like, if you don't have the time or the the time's time, everything's time. And that's what goes back to the hustle culture. It's like, we feel like we have to hustle in order to be successful. It's like, no, if we're just like time managing better. I'm not the best at that at the moment, but like, say like, you're like, I'm going to set an alarm for an hour, and that's like an hour of content creation. Yeah. You know what I mean? You have to be disciplined, especially when we have distractions like, social media and stuff like that.
You should watch one of our episodes about time blocking.
Yes. Oh, I love time blocking. I do that now, but like,
that's the one you just mentioned.
I've kind of fallen off it, but like, I was saying to my girlfriend today, I'm like, next week I have so much to do. I need to like, in my calendar, even if it's like calendar, like shower. And then it's like 1 hour of content creation, 1 hour of like going through my books to see what books I'm bringing back to the classroom. Like, I'm going to be doing, like, my calendar is going to be like
crazy. And it's important to have that community, like you said, with the WCA.
The YWCA Hamilton.
Is that a community of women?
Yes, I think that's more women based, but like through the business center even, or the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, there's lots. Okay. And even Mohawk, the Mohawk entrepreneurial, I'm like butchering, but Mohawk has a lot. Like, I go to a lot of events at Mohawk that are geared towards small businesses, because I feel like they have a lot of, I guess, courses that you could use for business and entrepreneurship. So there are things out there, there are resources out there that maybe people don't know about that you need to tap into, because it's not like, and don't do it alone. Like, you can't do small business by yourself. You need support, you need a community, you need like-minded folks. So I think that's the best way to kind of to persevere.
And I'll put the links down below with all the things
I will
you
send
mentioned.
you all, and like, they can connect with you or me or anything. Like, I will gladly put resources out.
Perfect. Another question that it's sort of hard for a lot of people to answer, but I think you will answer this just fine. Why do you think it's important to embody who you are, whether it's business, personal? Why is it important to be who you are? And not so much copying.
Yes. Well, I will say that I'm a very unique individual, and there's no one like me, and there's no one like you. I think that like a lot of people, this comparison, especially with social media. It's like, no, like you are you and you are unique and you are your own person. And that's what makes this world great. If we were all the same, it would be boring.
Right.
So I think that being authentic to who you are and showing that, is how people connect with you and can actually connect with you in a meaningful way.
Just
And
your vulnerability.
vulnerability is so
everything.
important. Like I will be very like being transparent and vulnerable and like having hard conversations. Like that's the only way to dig deeper and to kind of work on yourself as a human and not be that person who feels the need to compare. And it comes with age. Like I turned 40 this year, so it's like now I'm more self-aware and I'm like,
Mindful,
demure. But you have to be like, if you just put a wall up, how are you going to learn more about yourself? So I think it's important that if you have a brand, it has to reflect you, because especially with a small business, and we were just talking about this, like folks are buying from you.
Correct.
They can get, a bottle of water anywhere, but why are they buying your bottle of water? Hopefully it's because you're showing them something or giving them, the energy of your authentic self to sell that water. Right? I could be boring and be like, here, this water is really good. Or I could be like, you know what? You would really love this water.
Yeah.
And like, the energy, like people, comment on my energy, and it's like, because I love connecting with others and I'm not afraid to be my silly self to do that, because that's what people appreciate, is that I'm not, boring. And I've just like learned to come into that, but sometimes it takes time to like get to know who you are, especially as a mother, right? Because you lose your identity and everything pivots.
Yes.
Like you become a whole new person, so you have to kind of find your way back to yourself. But also, like, as you age, like, who are you? What do you want to leave? Like, so it's just like doing the work, and therapy, and
I love therapy.
Right? Therapy is important. Like a lot of people push it away, but it's
or shame.
Yep. And like therapy is also like, you have to be like, some people will say, oh, I tried it, it didn't work. You need to find a new therapist.
Right.
It's sometimes you're going to have to try a couple until you find one that works for you.
Yeah.
But it's so important. Our mental health right now in this weird world that we live in is like horrible. No bueno. People are not okay. So we have to, and like, there's very little support. So we have to, like, if you have benefits, use them, get the massage, get the naturopath, like whatever. If you don't, there are lots of resources you can reach out to that offer pro bono services or offer like lower fees or sliding scale. So it's really important. And if you have like a good family or community base, like I have great friends that, if I need a weekend away and we just drink wine, eat cheese and giggle, like that is therapy.
That's a therapy.
Too. That's therapy too, right? And you can be your true authentic self with your community, your best friends, and just like release that
100%.
like not that like I turn it off, like I'm my authentic self obviously, but I'm more on and whatever. I'm still on and whatever with my pals, but like at least like I don't have to worry about whatever anybody thinks, because like these people know me the most, and like I can just like
be who you are and not be
and recharge the batteries, right? It's the social batteries too.
I agree. I agree with that. Is there a wellness tip? If there's one wellness tip that you swear by, you have one.
Not like getting rid of guilt. Especially as a mother, like maybe this is more mother. Oh no, it could be a non-mother thing.
It can be anything.
But like not feeling guilty if I need time to like refill my cup or recharge my batteries. So, sometimes you get lost in motherhood and you're like, oh, I can't leave my child, or, but honestly, like I want to like look in the camera. If you are a parent, mother, parent, caregiver, whatever, the best gift you can give to your wife, partner, spouse,
whoever,
nanny, whoever, like nana, papa, like grandparent, is a night away. Like
a night
away. Forget the spa. Spa works too,
that.
but like hotel, Toronto, doesn't matter. It could be Burlington, the new hotel there. Just, or Niagara Falls, whatever. A hotel room where like the person can have a shower or soak in a bath,
Have a shower.
have
I
a
love
robe, watch TV, order takeout, sleep. Sleep in, not have a child kicking them in the morning. You're welcome. That is the best gift you can give to any parent, is a night away, or a couple, but also separate, right? They don't need a mug. They don't need,
Go for a
like
a night
that.
out. Yeah.
You have to. If I go, like, me and my friends will rent Airbnbs and we'll go away to Prince Edward County or Niagara or whatever, and just have a weekend of good food, giggling, like riding bikes in the vineyards. Like, we'll just unplug.
No stress.
That's how the burnout doesn't happen.
Correct.
That's how the hustle culture, that's how you slow down, is just like put the phone away, put the work away, and just be.
And that should be part of
And
your
that's the
planning.
Wellness. And that's the wellness. So so you're putting that in your calendar.
Yes.
So maybe you're like, you know what? I really love watching Big Brother, for example. That's on 3 days a week. But those hours, whatever day it is, Monday, Sunday, I haven't watched this season, but you're watching your favorite show and you're putting it in the calendar. Your partner knows, or you watch it with your partner, that is my time to no phone, no, child hopefully is sleeping. That's my time. I
love that.
You send your husband for coffee, like go for like you or no, or you let them go for trivia or whatever, and then you're at home and you get to like have like a night where you're just watching TV by yourself. Like sure, marriages are great, but also individual. You have to be your own individual self as well. So maybe you're like, hey, husband, go have a beer with your pal. I'm gonna stay here and have a night of like, we need to be alone. Yes. And that's the thing. A lot of people are not comfortable being by themselves in their own company.
I just learned about this.
Yes.
And it baffles me. Do you think this stems from a lot of childhood?
Oh, absolutely.
Stuff?
It's definitely attachment-ish, like it's attachment,
It's
right?
crazy.
Like there's a lot of folks that just like need to be around other people and like, I need it. Like I need to be, like I love people, I love community, but I also like, I've learned to love being on my own, right? Because if you're not on your own, how are you going to, how do I explain it? Like at the end of the day, you like your best friend really should be yourself, because
I love that.
right? Because how at the end of the day, if like when it's all said and done, who are you left with? Yourself. Like say, your child goes to university, now you're just in the home and your husband works and you work part-time. You're going to be by yourself for a little bit. Or say you have a separation in your family and now you have to be on your own. Are you going to be confident and comfortable on your own by yourself? Or are you like some people getting into a spiral of like, oh my God, no one's ever going to love me, right? Like,
yes,
you have
thoughts.
to make sure. Right? It's especially with social media. It's like, oh, you're alone. You're going to be alone forever. I'm like,
wow. Crazy how much the social media can.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it, but like you have to be okay
your
with
own
yourself, because you never know. You never know. You never know.
Also, with all the messages, by the way, thank you so much for all the insights. Do you have one message? I know you've covered a bunch of stuff already, but if there is one message you want to tell women or the world,
what
would that be?
Slow down.
Slow down. Oh my gosh, I love that.
Slow down. Life's too fast.
Wow.
Stop
hustling.
Stop hustling. Go to the spin class. Go to the yoga class. Go on the trip. Go.
I love
use the credit card. Go to Greece with your girlfriends. Like,
Portugal.
honestly, you have to stop, because we're not meant to be
like machines.
Go. We have machines now. Use the chat GPT. I call it GPT. GPT. Right? Don't reinvent the wheel. It's not that deep.
Yes.
It's not that deep.
Somebody already reinvented it for us.
Yes.
So we're okay.
We're okay. So slow down. Slow down. Do a podcast on a Sunday night or afternoon.
I love that.
Just slow down.
You should start your own podcast too.
I want to. Would you watch?
I'm sure a lot of people will.
Right?
A lot of mamas will. How can people find you? Social media, your platforms,
Yeah.
stuff with your doula business as well, and
Yeah,
all
well,
this good stuff.
Doula's kind of on hold for now, but that's Bearing Roots Doula on Instagram and beyond. My personal Instagram is full.of.cas. Full of Cas. Full of Cas. Like
Okay,
Cassandra.
I will link that.
Full
in
of
the thing.
Cas. It's like sometimes I go public, sometimes private, but just say, hey, I heard you on the podcast. I'd love to follow you. Cool.
Can I have the sign too, Cass?
Oh, yes. And
I
then,
just want to show people your thing that disappeared and
oh my gosh, this thing. Also, the Mom Market. So it would be the Mom Market _ Hamilton on Instagram, I'm pretty sure. And then the Mom Market co.com, I want to say, for the website. But obviously, everything will be in the show notes. Is that a word?
That's
the
it.
show notes.
the show notes.
The show notes. And yeah, I'm an open book. If you have questions about adoption, about IVF, about motherhood, about doula, about teaching, about the
being
Mom
a
Market,
vendor,
being a vendor,
starting a business,
tips on social media stuff. I'm not the best, but
yeah.
I can definitely put you in the right direction.
Perfect. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Cass, thank you so much for
Thank
being here
you.
today.
Woo-hoo.
Hope to have you again on the show.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I love this and I love having these kind of conversations. So like doing it
Yes.
where other people can take what they need and,
yeah.
take those little bites of something to kind of like go with them.
Yeah.
I'm happy to do it. That's why I do what I do. That's why I share what I share. I'm like an overshare, one would say, but I do that because I know that there's at least one person that will take what I've said or
Yes.
something from my experience and like feel connected or validated in their feelings because they feel the same way, if that makes sense.
And it only takes one person to like.
That's the
Sometimes
thing.
I feel like with the hustle culture, like I have to influence or inspire a lot of people, but
No.
really, like you just need.
Yeah.
And even if there's
Right?
nobody, it's also, I feel like with podcasting, it's very therapeutic too for
For
the people
sure.
involved.
I think that's why I would like to
Yeah.
do a podcast because like
Yeah.
I love having these conversations and
Yeah.
I feel like other people need to have these conversations,
Yes.
but maybe they don't have time because they're in the hustle culture. So like
Yes.
listening to it in their car, like I listen to a lot of podcasts and I gain so much insight. And I think if you do anything, be it a workshop, be it listen to a podcast, be it if you take one thing away from it, it was worth your time.
That's it.
Right? Like as a teacher, when I go to a PD, like if I take at least one little thing, it was worth it.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, it's the experience.
Right? That's the only way we grow.
We grow.
Experience and through failures and,
That's it.
one day at a time. Life's too short.
Thank you, guys. I will invite Cass back for sure here at the Camo Talks. I hope you guys have a great day. Till next time.
Thank you.